Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes, and welcome to the joyous world of being a nurse in Scotland who's just been offered a 5.5% pay rise, more than twice the rate of inflation. And you'd think that'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be good. That's a nice little pay rise, that. However, no, it isn't, because the nurses have said, hang on a minute, 5.5% is not good enough. Said, we're watching train drivers getting 14.5%. We're seeing junior doctors getting 22%. We'll have some of that. And of course, Swinney and Robertson don't know what to do. They've said, but this is what we offered. This is what you've got to take. And the nurses are saying, no. That may be what you offer, but it isn't necessarily what we're going to take. We want the same as the doctors. If you can find all that extra money to give the doctors that amount of money, you can find it to give us nurses the same deal. And of course they haven't. They haven't got a clue. They don't know what they're doing. All that money, it's beyond belief. But that's where it's going. 5.5% isn't going to cut it when you've got two governments in Holyrood and Westminster dishing out massive pay rises to certain public sector jobs, not others. What do they think is going to happen? When you're offering doctors 20 odd percent, you don't think the nurses will want that? Does nobody see this? Does nobody see that when you set a baseline, everyone scores off it? Now, I remember growing up in the 70s, and there was always strikes. Ford we're always striking for pay rises. The unions were too powerful in that. But the Ford pay rise was seen as the benchmark for everyone in Britain. And when Ford gave like a 10% pay rise, then that was the one. And everybody in Britain wanted a 10% pay rise. And that's what led to massive inflation. I remember inflation in Britain, 25, 26%, something like that. Anyone who bought a house in the early 70s made it, didn't they? All that inflation, boom, they bought this house. Next thing you know, from 1 week, oh, I don't know if we can pay the mortgage this month, to, hey, the mortgage is only about a third of my wages, you know. It was just incredible amount of money that was made very quickly. So anyone who bought those houses made well. Everyone else was screwed, of course. And high inflation brought other problems. And that's what's happened. But now it's back. When you're paying massive pay rises to people, you're going to have inflation, number one. But number two, everyone will want it. And they ain't going to get it. And then there's going to be strikes. And it's going to be horrendous. They've made a rod for their own back. Why does nobody see this? Why does nobody look at this and go, this is going to be bad, let's not do it? Is it because they're stupid? Oh, yeah, no, that's it. They're stupid. Especially with Shona Robinson. God help us. Anyway, just going to read this quick bit here, because there are 170,000 staff, including midwives, paramedics, allied health professionals, and you also got to get in things like all the ancillary stuff, porters, secretaries, filing people, database managers. Also, there's a lot of people. It's not just doctors and nurses in a hospital. There's a lot. And they all look at that 22% for the doctors and think, me too. I'll have some of that. Now, this deal at 5.5%, it's going to cost £448 million, nearly £500 million. But they'll want more. How can the Scottish government find more money? Well, they could stop all sorts of things, couldn't they? They could, for example, stop paying for the buses for school kids and immigrants. They could start by closing down Angus Robertson's department. The only problem there, of course, is Angus Robertson would throw a hissy fit. He does like his champagne breakfasts, doesn't he? They could close down all the foreign embassies, and that's fine. Oh, look, and eventually you've closed all these things down. You've done all these things. You've cut everything there, all the wasteful stuff, and you've got enough money to pay the nurses and the hospital people and all the people in the health sector there. Let's say 10% rise. All right, they'll settle for 10%. We'll settle for 10%. Let's take 10%. But wait a minute. The teachers will go, hang on a minute. We want 10% and all. And the police will go, hang on a minute. And there's nothing else to cut. There's nowhere else to go. And so all these people will walk out. They'll go on strike. They'll work to rule. It's obvious what's going to happen. You cannot pay one person a massive pay rise and expect everyone else to put up with whatever dog shit is left. And that exactly is what the SNP are doing. Anyway, Colin Pullman, who is the director of the Royal College of Nursing, said staff were rightly frustrated and that the Scottish Government had kept them waiting while the cost of living kept rocketing. He says the RCN, is now among those as part of the agenda for change that are considering the pay offer, but it doesn't look good. He says it's taken months of pressure from the RCN and other health trade unions for the Scottish Government to make this pay offer. He says our pay claim, submitted back in February, calls for an offer that reflects increases in living costs and begins to address the historic erosion of pay. He says our members will decide if today's announcement is enough. I wouldn't hold your breath. If I were you, Mr. Swinney, I think they're going to say no. If you read between the lines, he's saying that this will not be acceptable. He says that process begins with the RCN Scotland board members looking at the offer in detail, but nursing staff are the ever-present safety-critical workforce across the whole of healthcare, and our wages do not reflect this, and still won't after today. So even with this 5.5%, it says it's not going to reflect what they're worth. He said fair pay is vital to recruiting and retaining nursing staff and to filling the thousands of vacant nurse jobs and giving people the care they deserve. Pay them, people will come. But you ain't got the money because you keep wasting it on all those independence bollocks. How much money did you spend on all those brochures that nobody reads and that will never happen because you're never going to be independent? And even now, more than ever, this massive waste of money has meant Scotland can never, ever afford to be independent. How on earth can Scotland be independent when it cannot pay its bills? It would be bankrupt and third world in a week. You've got to say, Swinney's done the... Who's he working for? Is he an undercover agent for the union? Because the amount of damage he's done to the independence cause by his mishandling of every single thing is magnificent, isn't it? I mean, he's still got Shona Robinson there doing finance. I mean, really. No wonder it's falling apart. But that's it. There will be nursing strikes if the pay offer isn't upped. They haven't got the money to up the offer. Something's got to give. Won't be the nurses. I tell you, it's going to be a long winter if they reject that. And Swinney, who knows? I don't know what he's going to do. He may as well just cut his losses and retire and make it somebody else's problem because he can't sort it. Anyway, thanks very much. Take care. Speak soon. Bye-bye.